It was my first summer as a camp counselor, and I was so nervous. I was assigned a cabin of 14-year-old girls, and I was just 15 myself, so I knew being a disciplinarian was off the table. I figured being a trusted friend, an ally, would be my best bet. As campers and their families started to arrive, one girl stood out. Her name was Okokon, and her family was visiting the US for the summer from Turkey. They decided to send her to camp to work on her English and gain a bit more confidence. When her family left, Okokon cried so hard. That first day, she was really quiet. She hovered on the edge of the group. To me, it looked like she was just trying to fade into the background, disappear. And she reminded me so much of myself. When I was 12 years old, I received a scholarship to go to summer camp in Connecticut for 2 weeks. See, where I'm from in Boston, most kids are lucky if their families can afford to send them to the YMCA camp down the street, let alone Connecticut. Summers were spent playing double dutch at the playground and sharing 25-cent popsicles from the corner store and racing home before the streetlights came on. So of course my family jumped at the opportunity for me to have a new experience, and I had no idea what to expect. I was driven down to Connecticut by a volunteer from my after-school program, and when we arrived, it was a blur of kids everywhere, and so many trees and this beautiful blue lake and picturesque wooden cabins. And I found my cabin and laid my stuff down on my bunk and watched as other campers started to arrive, and their families would unload these big, shiny trunks. And then I realized I was the only kid who didn't get dropped off by her parents, and the only one who didn't have a big, shiny trunk. And I took in the other campers as they arrived. They were all white, all from different towns and suburbs, and they were wearing the cool brands like Hollister and Abercrombie. And they were talking about if they packed their iPods and what bikinis they decided to bring. And I looked down at my beat-up Nikes and my hand-me-down Goodwill clothes and the ugly one-piece underneath, and at that tattered duffel bag I brought, and I kicked it under my bunk, hoping nobody would notice. And I felt so alone and out of place. I did not belong there, and I had no idea how I would possibly survive 2 weeks here. Well, the thing about camp is that you are fully scheduled from sunrise to lights out, so I didn't have much time to wallow. In archery, I met Emily, who liked the same music I did and did not wear Hollister or Abercrombie. In canoeing, I met Eric, who was a city kid just like me and had no idea how to navigate a canoe. And in arts and crafts, I met Greg, who played the trombone and didn't really feel like he fit in either. We all became fast friends, and even though there weren't any other campers or counselors who looked like me, I kept finding more things in common with people. And soon I had tons of friends, and I knew all of the songs, and I was helping my cabin win the games. And in no time, I loved it. I couldn't imagine that girl that first day who was alone and out of place, because I was filled with the camp spirit. After my 2 weeks at camp, I wanted to go back the next summer, and thankfully I could keep my scholarship. Over the year, I stayed in touch with all my camp friends, exchanging instant messages and emails, debating which games were the best and which cabins had the cutest boys. I told my friends all the stories. I taught my family the songs. And I went back for 2 more summers as a camper, and then I was too old to be a camper, so I decided to become a counselor. A few of my friends would be counselors as well, and we would all keep the camp spirit going. As a counselor, I stuck by Okokon's side. I felt for her. She was homesick, dropped off alone in this foreign country, in this strange alternate reality where she didn't really understand the language. I coached her on the tricky rhyming songs and helped her practice the different games. But I couldn't be with her at all hours of the day. So I had to trust that the other campers and counselors, and the camp spirit would take care of her just as it had for me. And one day, it was care package day in the cabin, so there were packages of hot Cheetos and Sour Patch Kids and Twizzlers flying across the cabin. And Akeen held a package of Turkish Delight sent from her mom. And a camper in the bunk next to her asked her what it was. And Akeen started to share, and soon all the other campers were surrounding her bunk, peppering her with questions about her life at home and her family and school. And she stumbled over her words, but slowly she opened up. And for the first time, I saw that there was a place for her at camp, that this could be a happy place for her. And I spent that summer with kids like Akeen, who couldn't see themselves in anybody else at camp, who felt like they didn't have a place. And I got to see other outsiders just like me make their way in. I'm not sure what happened to Akeen after that summer. She didn't go back to camp, and neither did I. I had to get a job that paid more than 3 meals a day plus snacks and ice cream. Not every kid has an amazing time at camp. It's not always a positive experience. But I got to spend my summers at the most beautiful place by the lake, where who you are at home and where you come from doesn't matter. What matters is how loud you can sing the camp songs and coming up with the most creative costumes for your cabin and being there for your camp family when they need you. And I will always carry that spirit with me.